We are going to be looking into panel number 2. Katie, have a seat. Everybody up in the back. I hope everybody did enjoy their lunch. And the dessert was so good, right? I thought it was delicious. If you didn't save room for it, you missed out. Okay, so panel 2 is entitled Looking Ahead, Industry Opportunity. In this panel, we look to cover ownership, sports betting, as well as the evolution of media. So while our first panels were really more internally concentric, this one we're going to be looking at the industry and looking ahead. I am pleased to welcome as moderator Amplify Racing's Annise Montplaisir.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Welcome, everybody, back from lunch. And so, as Michelle already touched on, this is a huge topic. So, within this overarching name that we have, industry opportunity, we're going to be talking about some of these specific opportunities, some sectors that are growing, that are innovating. But under that banner, we are going to continue some themes that we've already heard discussed for today. Mentorship. What makes a good mentor? How can we all continue to innovate personally and professionally to continue progressing the industry forward? And then also looking at what are some of the pathways that we are laying for the people that we are welcoming into the industry. So to help conquer this big topic, I would like to join our lovely panelists, or welcome our lovely panelists, Lisa Kerney, FanDuel TV and events host, Lindsay Schanzer, yes, Lindsay Schanzer, senior producer for NBC Sports, Shona Rotondo, head of marketing at MyRacehorse and co-founder of Grand Slam Social, and Jodie Vella-Gregory, director for the Office of Innovation at First Racing. So, I do want the audience to get to know you guys a little bit. And Shona and Jodie, I think we're all probably most familiar with you since you're very involved in racing. But one of the things that is common in both of your stories, or kind of a common thread, is that you grew up riding horses. Horses were your hobby. And for some kids or young ladies who grow up with horses as their hobby, they want to maintain it as that rather than actually growing it into a career. So what was the selling point of racing that made you want to continue on, grow that into a career, and make it your profession? And Jodie, you're looking at me, so I'm going to throw that to you first.
Here we go. Well, it's going to be difficult to follow the last panel, but just stick with us here. I actually, quite honestly, I didn't have my goal to work in racing. I didn't realize how much racing had to offer. So when I actually saw it, I had the chance to be in Lexington, Kentucky for a summer. I got offered to spend the summer there, and I think my eyes were just wide open at how many opportunities there were. And then to combine that with a passion that I had, I was like, this is the best thing ever. And I think it was just great because horse racing has so many avenues. We all say it's like its own little community, whether you're in entertainment, if you want to be a jockey, if you want to be a trainer, there's literally something for everybody. So to combine that was quite awesome. And I do often say, though, if the reason you're getting into racing or having anything to do with horses, when you're actually working in it, it looks very different. But you shouldn't let that dissuade you, because you just have to find something that's going to continue that passion forward.
Shona?
Yeah, I think for me, just generally, I think when you choose to take something that brings you joy as a hobby and turn it into a career, you definitely have to be careful, because it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you could be turning something that you love to do into a bit of a stressor, because it is now your job. But on the other hand, it can work out really well, and it can make you kind of crazy obsessed with your job, which I think my husband will say for sure. That's me. I never really turn off, and not because I'm necessarily a workaholic, but just because I am just so in love with the role that I'm in, and I just love the industry, and I love the horses and the people, and I have such high hopes for the industry. So I think it can be a really powerful combination as long as you kind of make sure you set those boundaries and you find time to do the things that still kind of bring you that relaxation and release that you get from a hobby. So
It's kind of like there's the saying, you know, you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, but then it's the opposite where you do what you love, you work every day of your life. That is horse racing. So for Lisa and Lindsay, what brought you guys to the world of sports? And then as you started getting involved in racing, you know, what is it about racing that stands out amongst other sports and makes it unique?
Yeah, I didn't start in racing at all. I've been in sports television kind of my whole life. My family was a sports television family. My dad worked in the industry, so I always kind of gravitated towards it and wanted to be a part of it. I started immediately following college where I studied film and television. Immediately worked for NBC and was part of the Olympic Profiles and Features department, which was post-production, storytelling. We would produce sort of 3 to 4 minute features on Olympic athletes, which I'm sure you've all seen, to get the background of where they came from. And it wasn't until about 4 years into my work that I sort of wandered into the production truck at the Kentucky Derby, where I was working independently on our post-production features, and watched the show unfold and watched the production aspect happen in real time, and split-second decisions were being made, and I'm looking at Amy Zimmerman, spats were happening in the truck. People are arguing, but in the best way, because all the decisions are being made, and there are, you know, 60, 70 cameras and monitors up in front of you, and I just thought, wow, this is the most fascinating thing, and my heart is racing in the best way, and I want to be a part of that. And I quickly made the transition to live, and have been with horse racing ever since, and that was about 10 years ago. And I cover a lot of sports for NBC, but horse racing is really unique, and it's that perfect cross-section between event and sport, and there's nothing that I like covering more. And it's just a really, really unique opportunity to spend the majority of our broadcast telling stories and introducing people to the industry, and then also you get that rush of reacting to, you don't know what's going to happen out on the track. So I love it, and it's my favorite thing that I get to cover.
I love what you said about you know, the spontaneity of live TV and sport, and like what I do. So I came from ESPN. I anchored SportsCenter for 5 years, and I did a lot of our overnight coverage at ESPN, where literally you're coming off the games and you're in the middle of a 2, 3, 4 hour SportsCenter sometimes, and they're handing you shot sheets and things are flying around and you've not seen this highlight, but you're going, and then you're just throwing the shot sheet back and you're ad-libbing, and you just have no idea what's going to happen in sport, and it's so special. And yeah, the live TV element just you know, adds to that energy and emotion that you can pour into something that you already love so much. So I came from ESPN. I had many stops prior, but that's probably where some of you might know me from. And then I'm so proud to, 4.5 years ago, have made the move to FanDuel. And I left ESPN because I have 4 children, and they were all little at the time, and I was working 80 hours a week. And truly, the better that you do in a lot of industries, and especially at ESPN and SportsCenter, the more you're going to work and the more you're going to do, so you elevate and elevate. And I was like, you know, you get to a point that's unsustainable, and like the kids needed mommy and I needed the kids. And so it was such a blessing, because the second I stepped away, it was like, who knows what I'll do? Maybe I'll go back and do just NFL. And that was kind of the path, as I was like still engaged with our NFL side at ESPN. And then literally Kevin Grigsby comes out of nowhere. If you all know Kevin, he's like a spitfire, and he's amazing, and he's this man behind the curtain, and he's just so brilliant. And we hit it off right away, and our energy, we had so much synergy and excitement for what we could do. And we literally, when I interviewed with FanDuel, we were talking then about FanDuel TV and getting to this point that we launched a month ago. So I'm almost like emotional. Where's Amy? I'm almost like emotional about how far we've come in such a short period of time, and the platform that we have to now launch, now that we're at the ground level. So Lisa Kerney, I've been hosting More Ways to Win and our content coverage and FanDuel events proudly for now 4+ years.
Awesome. And so, you know, going back to that theme of innovation, you all represent these innovative sectors, whether it's micro partnerships in ownership, TV and production and the opportunity that lies there, sports betting. So how is it that, how are your companies examples of innovation within the industry? And then within each of your roles, how do you guys amplify that and serve as catalysts to engage with new people, bring in newcomers? And Jodie, I'm going to send that to you first because you are the director for the Office of Innovation for FIRST. So that really is your thing.
I think FIRST as a whole, our whole platform is to innovate the experiences. So whatever aspect of the industry you're in, you're going to have like a quality, high experience. And I think like, take for example something like the Pegasus World Cup. Like it's also an example of how something that was supposed to start one way has evolved into something else. So in 2017, it was supposed to be the race that had the biggest purse, and that's how we were going to have, like, everyone's going to spend $1 million and get in the starting gate, and that obviously didn't really work out on paper. But right now, it's like it's evolved, it's pivoted. We're at a stage now where you're getting the best racehorses coming to the events, and then they're either kicking off their stallion careers or they're kicking off the rest of their race careers. And I think like just seeing how that has evolved, and that's just like the racing side of it. I mean, anyone who hasn't been to it, it is like such a great party because we've innovated. We're having the community come in. We're sort of partnering with people that the racing world wouldn't have done before, and it's just like an event that is on everyone's like calendar at the moment. And I do actually have, like, if you haven't been, a little video just to sort of like recap it. So we're good to go, guys.
Pegasus, the divine winged horse that flew with heroes mounted for glory. Here begins our story of legendary times, the rarefied air when the stakes are high. Like the moment when you feel the vibe, the thunder and the lightning on the track, the energy in the stands, like music moving through your soul, shaking your hips, making you dance. The stars come out in the magic city, for Pegasus they stay, dressed in designers' newest finds, wishing all days could be like this. A moment in the sun, where everything is divine. Racing, vibe, fashion, entertainment. Arrogant, gun runner, city of light, mucho gusto, and Knicks go. Pharrell Williams at the finish line. Lenny Kravitz rocks the runway. Snoop Dogg making it rain. A Jennifer Lopez family affair. Vin Diesel found out that cars aren't the only thing that are fast and furious. This runway on the rail. Post Malone on the mic. Mark Ronson on the ones and twos. Alec Monopoly paints the game. Aloe Black brings the community together. All for one.
So yeah, that's definitely not your typical racing event, but it's now like stamped on everyone's calendar to come, and hopefully we'll see some new faces there. But besides that, it's also being very innovative through like inclusion. Like we've partnered with the Ed Brown Society. Deja Robinson is somewhere here, who's one of our first interns, and the Compton Cowboys, and we're just being very inclusive of different aspects of the community as well. So I think those things are really like near and dear to me because it's also like an internship, which I'm sure we'll talk about, like, and a mentorship through that. But those are some of the great ways that we're innovating. So it's really great to bring the new experiences. It's sort of like the people that are in it are going to get a high elevated experience, and the people on the periphery are going to see something that they've not seen and be like, I want to be a part of that.
Who doesn't want to be a part of
I
that?
know.
I mean,
Are you
when
coming
you
next
talk
year?
about like targeting the younger generation and new sports fans, and I'm excited to talk about this too in our launch of FanDuel TV and how we're innovating there. But like, this is why, I mean, social media influence and these cultural influences that come through social media, because everything does now, but the digital world, they see this and they're like, yes. I mean, they're so enamored with the authentic culture, and it's something that's so cool that we now get to like amplify to tens of millions of people that otherwise prior to FanDuel TV and our distribution and opportunities through our direct-to-consumer OTT apps and those platforms, we otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to share this sport at the highest level and really give this younger new generation the opportunity to enjoy this sport at its fullest. Right. And I feel like I just hijacked the stage here, but I was so excited by that video.
It's exciting.
Right?
I've been to the Pegasus multiple times. I've been lucky enough to produce several of them, but I don't remember who won the races. I remember the Nelly concert at the end of it, and that was the highlight of my year. And I encourage anyone to go to the Pegasus if you haven't. It's a blast.
I think for my world, at MyRacehorse, we're just so focused on bringing new owners into the game, and our vehicle to do so is really through the technology and the accessibility of the product. Not only because it's affordable, so obviously affordability was a big unlock, but also because it's so easy to try. So you could see a commercial, pick up the app, go to MyRacehorse.com, pick a horse, and you're an owner in a couple minutes. It's never been that way before. It's never been that easy. You might have wanted to, maybe you heard about a syndicate and you wanted to get involved, but it's like you had to know somebody who knew somebody, and it kind of felt like that was how ownership was run for a really long time, versus on the track front, you're advertising to the local community, and it's just come to the track, have fun, have an awesome party, or if you're FanDuel TV, it's see cool content, and then go here and bet. So those have always been accessible, but ownership hasn't been. So it's been incredible to be part of that group that's just bringing it to new people. And the first few years, I think we did a good job at introducing MyRacehorse to the community. So a lot of people who were fans of racing were like, oh, it's cool. Like, they were sort of the low-hanging fruit. But now we're really, really focused on trial for people outside of our ecosystem. So, the lawyers, the teachers, your mailman, whoever, we just want to introduce this incredible sport to new people. And it's so easy to just give it a try through MyRacehorse. And then maybe you love it. We hope you love it. We want to sell everyone on the emotion of the game, because there's just nothing like that love you feel for the animal. Once you get involved, it gets seriously addictive. And we have a lot of owners who have 30, 40, 50 horses on the platform. Every time we list one, they're like, oh, can't wait to get the next horse. But I think that the point is that these people, it takes a little while to get them onboarded, but once they fall in love with the sport, they're then reinvesting. So they're going to the races, they're going to the Pegasus, not only because, God willing, we have a horse in the Pegasus, that would be amazing, but maybe there's a horse in the undercard, and so they bring 100 people out, and it's like, all right, we're all gonna go party at Pegasus. It doesn't even have to be a marquee race day, it can be any race day. And then they're reinvesting in aftercare, and they're definitely, actually 52% per a recent poll that we ran, are watching more racing on TV. And 21% are gambling more frequently or wagering more frequently on racing. So it's definitely fueling that industry in a tangible way, in a way that we can track. So we're just scratching the surface of, I think, what's going to be a really big growth opportunity for racing.
Can you share some examples of what that response has been from your community? Maybe a couple specific individuals on what it meant to them to have that kind of access and be able to get involved as an owner?
Oh gosh, we have. Our customer service team. We have, I think Paige is here in the audience. She heads up not only. She's like a jack of all trades. She does a million things, but one of the things she does is build the foundation for our CS team. She also works on the shop, and she's also a racing manager for the Midwest region. So she literally is like a Swiss Army knife. But she'll tell you. We get emails all the time from people who just are like, "You've changed my life." Being able to make that connection with a horse, or especially during the pandemic, these stories really came out because people were stuck at home and they just needed hope and something to get behind and rally behind. And that's the year that Authentic won the Derby for over 5,000 owners, and the response was just amazing. People were, we get stories of people who, my mom just passed away or my dad just passed away, and we used to go to the Derby every year, and I know she's looking down from above, and she was there with wings, with Authentic, and just so many amazing stories. So we know we're making that impact that we want to make, because people are really getting, it's more than just owning a racehorse. It's just completely, immersing yourself in the experience and the emotion of being connected to the animal. But then also kind of, I think everyone can see like a very tangible outcome of how passionate people are is how it impacts the odds board. So you see that when a MyRacehorse is in a race, typically that horse is favorite at post time, or at least morning line favorite, because or maybe not morning line favorite, but favorite at post time because the owners are definitely supporting their horse in that way. So exciting to see all that come to life.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
The humanistic side of horse racing and the opportunity for us from a content perspective to lean into that. And some of my amazing colleagues are here. Saw Christina at lunch, and Britt, and I think others of you are here as well. But they're so tremendously talented, and they bring those stories to life, not only through different features that we're able to do, but throughout races and when, before and after, and just the way that they seamlessly weave these stories in. It's such an exciting opportunity for us to take that content. And when we were talking and thinking about launching FanDuel TV, like Amy said, before she was even here, and when I first got here, we were talking about it. And, we finally come to it. It's only been a month that we've had this up and going, and we're very much at the ground level. But, everybody would go to Kevin or us and be like, how are you going to do a brand new network? Like, what's going to be on it? And Kevin's like, whoa, like he 23 years ago launched TVG, and he's such a passionate supporter of horse racing, and literally he's like, I got this. Like, horse racing is our backbone. Mm-hmm. Horse racing is our bread and butter. Horse racing is me, our shoulders. It is today and always will be. And we're the home of horse racing. We're so proud of that. And we're now FanDuel TV. That's the first of its kind 24-hour live sports betting network. We have more live sports than any other network in America, and we're so proud of that. So when we looked at everything, like bottom line, really, we put more than $1 billion into the FanDuel brand annually, and TVG wasn't seeing any of the benefits from that. Mm-hmm. So for us to bring new fans to horse racing, for us to bring horse racing to new fans, and very smartly cross-sell, and just like, hey, look what we've got. And when you turn on our programming at any time of the day, we've got, it's always horse racing centric. And so we're very proud of that. And it's just such an exciting opportunity to take these stories and this emotion and be able to share it with, like I said, not only the existing very staunch supporters of horse racing who've loved the sport for decades, but, to introduce it to this new era that's like all about the authenticity of the sport. And I love it. It's really exciting.
You might, on Derby Day, or big days in racing, handle's huge, right? And it's like you get people for that moment, and they're like, oh, I'm at the Derby, so I'm going to make some bets. Mm-hmm. But through ownership, you get sustainable, long-term betting opportunities because they're not betting because it's a big day in racing. They're betting because their horse is racing that day, and they're there and they're coming out, or they're at home, but they're paying attention. Mm-hmm. We try to equip them with, education around wagering. I mean, we're really at the brink of it right now. And to your point about owner stories, I think I need to do my job a little better and bring more of those to the forefront because, like, we see them, internally, but I really just want to focus in 2023 on bringing a lot of those stories to life and being able to showcase what this can mean to people. Yeah, good segue into what Lindsay can
So,
do.
Lindsay, that's a big part of you is telling, your role tells the story of racing, and we have certain days throughout the year when we have this massive captive audience by showcasing our biggest race days. So how do you boil all of that down and capture it to bring in those people?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we come from a bit of a different perspective because we have a large audience. I mean, some shows more than others, but we have ultimately the largest audience that puts eyes on horse racing in a calendar year. So we bring a different sort of attention to it, which is, one of the things we always say in our meetings is we have to broadcast and not narrowcast. We have an excellent team of announcers who knows just about everything there is to know about horse racing, but we always remind them there are most of the people out there that are watching today, let's say it's Kentucky Derby Day, do not know the language. They don't know what you're talking about or who you're talking about. I mean, you heard Brittany Ayrton here before. Somebody mentioned, there was a mention of, Elliot Walden, and you heard her tell everyone in here who Elliot Walden is. You all know who Elliot Walden is, but that's been ingrained in her from her work at TVG and with us to make sure that people know the context. So we really come at it from that perspective. And as far as as the audience that we have on that day, we try to do a couple things. So for innovation's sake, it largely hinges on technology, but never technology purely for technology's sake. We really pay attention to that. And sometimes there's a lot of push and pull to get the newest technology and do this new thing, but it really has to be with a specific focus. So if it's a new camera angle, we've really embraced jockey cam. I know FanDuel TV, TVG has as well. And the goal as it continues to improve is take viewers to a place they've never been before, and where they've never been before is on the back of a horse. So we're constantly pushing and working with that group to make that more stable and user-friendly. Our Jerry Bailey and Randy Moss announcers often talk about how dizzying it is, but we're getting there. It's getting better, and we really want to put people on the horse's back as best we can. So it's getting low, it's getting high. If you saw the incredible finish of the Kentucky Derby this year, we had a piece of technology that allowed us to take that unbelievable finish and track it from up high at the best angle possible to show you exactly how that win happened. And those are pieces of technology that we focus on for exactly those reasons. Some of it also are things you maybe don't think about, but because the storytelling is really the most central to what we do, and at the end of the day, we're dealing with athletes, but these athletes that are central to the story can't speak for themselves, they're horses. So we have to do some of that for them, and part of the way that happens is we tell the stories of the human connections around them. And what we try to do is amplify those stories the best we can. And beyond just the features, it's from a coverage perspective. So it's having enough cameras in the right places, and we do a lot of work ahead of time to understand the stories, to make sure that you're seeing the faces of people connected who are the most emotional about it. It's putting a camera on the helmet of the outrider so that when that winning jockey crosses the line, they're meeting that person and you see that emotion in real time. And that outrider also has a microphone on, so you can hear that emotion in real time. And we don't talk for a little bit, so you can hear that. So all of that to say that we recognize the responsibility we have on those biggest days to bring in a new audience and try to find ways to do that. And hopefully we've done a good job, and we'll keep pushing.
I have a question. How many features just like don't make it? Like,
You mean the one we talked about?
Like the one we tried to do. No, the one we tried to do this year before Derby. So I mean, we're to the point of owner stories. We're in touch on any opportunities there are to tell those stories, and same with FanDuel TV. But I was just like, what if there's a place they could all go? Like all the interviews and the footage you had that maybe the horse isn't active right now because they didn't make it to the Derby, but then they come back later in the year. So it'd be interesting if there was just like, you could brand that almost, right? Like the place where all the stories go that didn't make it to that race day, but hey, they're still there, and like they were almost there, and they had that hopeful moment, and then you don't necessarily have to finish the story, but maybe it's a cool spot to like peek behind the curtain of like the reality of what it takes to get there.
It's a great point, and there are incredible stories in this industry, and it's why it's my favorite sport to cover. And the Derby in particular, you get a new crop of horses every year. It's the nature of the game, and they all have 3, 4, MyRacehorse, hundreds of different connections, and there are possible stories there. I will just use this opportunity quickly, since Shona reminded me of it, to say you guys are all in the thick of the industry, and we do as much research as we can, but if you ever have stories that you know of, please reach out to us, because we may not know them. The best stories are often the ones that we just wouldn't know unless somebody came up to us and, like Shona gave, unfortunately it didn't work out for what was Forbidden Kingdom.
Yeah.
But we had a great story coming into it because of a connection that Shona had made through MyRacehorse, and we were so looking forward to telling the story. But I encourage anyone to please get in touch with us if you think there's a great one.
And I do think there is, like, if you ever talk to somebody outside of racing, like, the stories you tell them, they're like, wait, what is going on? Like, what world do you live in? So, I mean, like we said earlier, there's a platform for us right now that there might not have been, or there wasn't, like, in previous years. And, like, we have a platform to tell those stories, to engage people. Like, up here, we've got 4 different ways that we're engaging people that are already in it, that are maybe, like, looking to get in it. And, like I said, like, if there was a new reality show, I mean, we have it in the bag right here. So.
We just we bought a few horses at the Keeneland sale in September, and some of our like most passionate followers follow everything that we do, even before a horse is listed on the site. We have a pretty specific process to get horses listed. It's all SEC approved and qualified, so we can't like buy a horse and then start selling it right away. We have to make sure that we do a ton of due diligence before it can be listed. But a lot of passionate folks will say, "Oh, we saw that MyRacehorse, bought this horse," and we just got an email a few days ago from someone who, a woman's daughter had been diagnosed with an illness that was uncurable, and something about the name of the sire and the dam, just really spoke to her and her story. And so, long story short, we're gonna name the horse after her. And so there's cool opportunities like that all the time that, they just come to us, and it's such a cool opportunity to do something special, for that community and for her and her family.
We're sitting here like, these are like the gold that we love to share. I mean, that's what we do, is we tell stories, and we're certainly a visual medium, but when you say like, we don't talk during, very natural sound can come through, and you really want to feel the moment. And in these stories, the same thing with these features. So, to echo what Lindsay said, we always love to have any ideas or share stories that you have.
There'll be a story box.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've already got all these innovations that are coming out of this. I'm hearing all these other ideas popping up. And so I think, within innovation, I think we all have things that we can learn and gain from all of you on how we can innovate personally within our roles. And Jodie, I think you could speak really well to that, in that you've worked for some of the biggest brands in racing. You've driven a lot of innovation within all of your roles. So how can we all innovate personally within the jobs that we're in and think big picture, think new ideas for the future?
Yeah, I think, wherever you are, whoever you're working for, there is an opportunity to learn and ask questions, figure out what might be missing. I think what it was said earlier on the first panel, it's like, don't be afraid to speak up. And I think the only way you can innovate is by seeing if you were in a position of power, what would you want to go to? And I think we sort of also touched on if you're in a job and you're not feeling motivated or creative, or something's not serving you, it's okay to change that. Get around. And I think that also said earlier, if you are surrounded by a team that is willing to listen and learn and innovate, I think that's some of the most important things to do. I mean, I've been pretty lucky to work, like you said, for some of the best organizations, and the one I'm in now, I feel the most creative. I feel the most things that I can do, and I think it's asking to do extra projects. It's asking hey, I'm gonna do this, but can I also try this and see where it goes? And I think having that sort of, and I guess I'm lucky because I feel the confidence with my current team to be able to do that. And I think that's how you do it. You have to try things. You have to give things a shot. And I think sometimes, even with this Women's Summit, starting the planning of this about 6-7 months ago, one of the things I had said was some things in horse racing sometimes don't get the nurturing that they deserve. So it's let's try it once, or maybe don't try it because that's not the way it's been done. But try something new. Give it a chance to succeed. Even with I said with the Pegasus, it started as this, and it's morphing and growing. And I think try to do different things. Be I want to try this. So there's never an end. There's never really an end to anything in life, really. There's always something. You can always be progressing. You can always be growing. So look around you. Talk to people. We've got an entire room full of people here that have so many ideas. We're not all the smartest people in the room. I'm sure not. But there's things. And if someone's hey, I have an idea, you're okay, let me take that and let me run with it and see where it goes. But yeah, just give things a chance. Don't be afraid to try things and give things a chance to actually succeed.
And Shona, as an entrepreneur, you co-founded Grand Slam Social, so you identified a gap in the market. There might be other women who have interests in becoming an entrepreneur or seeing an area that they want to fill. So can you talk about the evolution of being an entrepreneur to starting Grand Slam to now where you are within your role at MyRacehorse?
Yeah. So I would say I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so a little bit is in my pedigree, but I'd say that probably 90% of it was passion driven. And I was just really looking to find a way to like stay connected to the industry and horse racing. And I took multiple passions and sort of combined them into a career. So my true love is psychology. It was my major in school, and I just have a fascination for people and relationships, and so that was number one. I loved social media. I was very passionate about social, interested in it. And then of course horses and horse racing, more horses because I grew up, show jumping, and then started getting into horse racing later. And so I was like, okay, what takes people and social and horses? And I'm like, oh, like a service-based industry that like works for racing events. And it was funny when we founded Grand Slam, we just put a website up. Like literally we're like, and now we're a company. And then we're like, wait, we actually need to, get articles of organization. And so I kind of learned as I went, trying to figure out how to, just run a business. And it's been an incredible experience over the years. It's very, it's a roller coaster because I think earlier a lot of people talked about imposter syndrome, but a lot of times you're like, who am I to be running this company? Like, who am I to be making decisions, to be the person responsible for other people's like careers and paychecks? But I think what the most fulfilling part of it was that for pretty uniquely, for once, we were able to create a culture that was totally our own, because there were no men. I mean, Grand Slam Social was a fully female company. And so we took that and we created this culture of just being open and honest and communicating, and not being afraid to speak your mind. And if you didn't agree, you could speak up and say, no, I don't think that's how we should do it. And we were able to really grow that. And I thought it was, I feel like I lived in a little bit of a bubble for 5 or 6 years, talking to people like Jodie who had been through struggles with their organizations, and just having Grand Slam be a place where like women could just kind of really be themselves. And that culture is carried on today by Caitlin Christopherson. She's now COO there. And I took a lot of that mindset with me to MyRacehorse because it had been ingrained kind of in how I operated. And I've seen the culture at MyRacehorse change. And I think that having, we're lucky to have a CEO who's really open to supporting women. We have a lot of female hires. And so he's been awesome in kind of lifting us up. But they're definitely needed. When we started, there's quite a few guys and needed a little bit of a female touch. So I think that Molly and I and the team that came over, Hannah, we all kind of made our impression there. And so yeah, it's been an exciting and interesting journey.
So Lindsay, prior to coming to horse racing, you covered a lot of other sports, and a lot of us are really ingrained in horse racing, very submerged in it on a day-to-day basis. So there can be a lot of value in having, an outside perspective. So what ideas have you implemented, or I keep going back to that word innovation, that you've drawn from other sports to apply within production?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it a lot, and I don't mean to harp on it, but I think at the end of the day, it's just something that's part of our brand at NBC, and I think a part of good sports television at large, and that's telling great stories and creating stars. So really, whoever the star is, whether they're on the track, off the track, whatever it is, really making sure people can connect with that person or that horse as it was. And it's regardless of what sport we're talking about. I mean, in the case of horse racing, there's also a piece of education to it, but at the end of the day, whether it's Olympics or football, horses, we're telling stories, and we're making people invested, giving them a reason to care. And I think that question about coming from different industries or not having a horse racing background necessarily, and this goes a little bit to what Jodie was saying as well. We have meetings leading up to all of our events, but let's say the Kentucky Derby, we start months out preparing for the event, and we'll go around the room and everyone will provide their ideas for what we could do with the broadcast. And every year, consistently, some of the best ideas come from people who don't know anything about horse racing, they don't understand it, they've never watched it, they don't know the lingo, and they'll come up with something that maybe we haven't thought about, because let's be honest, once you're in something, it's hard to step away from it. No matter how hard you try, it's hard to go 30,000 feet. So some of the best ideas we get are from people who live there. And we really try to speak to that audience, especially because that's a large part of who we're talking to. So I think it's really important to know, and this would apply to any industry you're a part of, whether you're a leader or you're not quite a leader yet, but great ideas can come from absolutely anywhere. And I think one of the best ways to innovate is simply to be open-minded. Just keep an open mind, be available, have faith in the people that you work with, and believe that something great can come out of unexpected places. And the other thing along those lines, and this is straying from what you asked, but along those lines is do not be afraid to collaborate, and do collaborate. You're not an island, you don't work alone, nobody is relying on solely you to come up with things and deliver. It is absolutely a team effort, and that's not limited to the team specifically that you work with. I mean, we have incredible partners that have driven a lot of the innovations that we do. I mean, our partners at First who are here have been incredible. Obviously, everything they're doing with the industry and expanding out entertainment, and they've really, really expanded what we've been able to show just by virtue of what they've brought to the product. We work with the Breeders' Cup, who has doubled down on technology like nobody else we've worked with, and they bring a lot of that to the table, and then we collaborate with them to bring it to all of you who get to watch. So keep an open mind, work together, collaborate, and don't be afraid to take ideas from unexpected places.
I love that you said that. And I think what we have found, throughout our careers, like I've been doing TV for almost 20 years, and you really find, and to extend what Amy said, I don't even know where Amy said. I keep pointing over here. Where is Amy? Oh, there she is. Just to extend also what Amy had said in the keynote at lunch, and she did such a fantastic job, and a critical element to innovative collaboration really is diversity, and not just obviously ethnicity and skin tone and gender and all those things, but thought diversity is so important, and it's so critical, and we all come from different places and different backgrounds and different perspectives, and I might work next to someone for a couple of years, 5, 10 years, and we still think so differently, and we can bring that to the table. So open-mindedness, as I was really thinking about what I really wanted to share here is amplifying the female voice and like empowering everyone to lean into your own voice, but also really, really embracing diversity of thought, because how cool is it that you can bring together people from all different spaces and all different backgrounds to have a stronger outcome, all working towards the same goal. And I just think that's so cool, and it's brings a lot of positive energy to a task at hand. And so you never know what comes out of it or where these ideas come from, and it could be like a nugget in a tiny last sentence of a 5-page article on something, or it might be somebody sending you a DM where you're like, wait a minute, let's see if this is legit, because it might be actually pretty cool. So who knows where it comes from, but being open to that and supporting that is, I've found to be really, really cool, actually.
I thought that was one of the coolest things about this panel in general. We've all sort of worked together, but without even knowing one another, and we're all, like you said, we're all working towards one goal, but we're all coming at it from different ways, from gambling, storytelling, from the racing side, the owning side of things, the innovative side of things. We're all ambassadors, and we all have something to give and to push the industry forward. And I think 100% it's the diversity of thought. Everyone in here has an idea, and we should be talking to one another. I mean, that was sort of the premise of having this summit. Let's get all of these amazing people in a room and start talking. The opportunities are absolutely endless. Let's just keep it going.
I think part of that is confidence, right?
Yeah.
It's trusting your own voice to be like, I think it's a good idea.
Right.
Maybe I'll feel it out. Go. It could be the best idea of the year, and you're like, I don't know if I should share. Throw 100 things at the wall. You never know what someone might pick up and run with and add to, and then you've created this big, beautiful project that you're like, wow, I almost didn't say anything.
I think too, part of the idea of thought diversity, it's so interesting because I don't know how many people go through this in their jobs, but if you're someone who does hiring or you're building a team, a lot of times I've had the same discussion with Michael Behrens, our CEO, multiple times. okay, does that need to be a horse racing person, or can we go outside? Can we go and get someone who's more like an expert in that vertical or in that specific job role that we're looking for? And so we debate that a lot because it's a hard industry to get onboarded to. And so I think that one of the things that I believe is a challenge that leadership in racing needs to embrace is taking on the responsibility of onboarding people who might be experts in another area. Maybe they're an expert in, like, what really, resonates with me is someone who just is really smart when it comes to like data and analytics and marketing automation and the marketing technology and all the things that go along with being a very smart brand that focuses on customer personalization, which I think the ADWs do really well. They're very tech focused. But a lot of businesses in racing aren't necessarily that way, and I think that you kind of have to take that leap of faith and go and find somebody who might be like a badass customer journey builder and knows data and analytics and can run reports, but maybe they have no idea what racing is or haven't really been exposed to it. We can onboard them. We can teach them the industry. Like, that's on us. So I think that sometimes it's a cop-out or the easy route to just go find someone who already knows the sport. But I think it limits our hiring pool to people who might not be the best fit for future growth and innovation.
So how do we make sure that those people know that they're welcome, that we want them in racing?
Yeah, good. Well,
We're hiring.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know. Send them my resume.
Rotondo, everybody. I had on my notes to actually speak on that too, and I think something that I can take away from first in our company is that we do have a lot of people that don't necessarily know horse racing, but they're very good at what they do, and then that's why I have job security. So I'm like, here, let me teach you. Exactly. Because you definitely need that balance. They need to know that without horse racing, the industry or the company isn't moving forward. But open it up. Someone that's really good at their job will learn what they need to learn, just like the onboarding. And I think we talked about it earlier too, or the panel did. I mean, the language that we speak in horse racing is very different. Or gambling. There's a lot of things that we need to learn and to onboard people correctly. But like I said, it's open up, internships, opening things up to the Ed Brown Society, to the Compton Cowboys. We did a program with the Compton Junior Equestrians and had about 12 or 14 children from the ages of 10 to 14, and we set it up at Santa Anita. They came and they got to go into the jocks room. They got to go to the XBTV studios. They went and met a trainer. They went to the veterinary clinic. It's let's start these programs at our tracks. Show these people that you love horses and this whole world exists. You don't have to fit into one specific entity, So have those experiences available. And honestly, the leader of the CJE actually was I've never seen those children actually stay focused for that long ever. They were just wow, this is so amazing. So, I mean, I think it's also starting young. Let's all do sort of school programs. If they don't know that is available to them at a young age, then that's not where they're going to be thinking. And to your point, how do we let people know that that's available to them? We need to do better. We need to engage outside of our very sort of small community, because horse racing is a fairly small community. So like we were saying earlier, here's our platform. Here are our chances to expand that. Let's get our name out there. Let's go to schools. Let's invite people in. And I think that's really important.
Because we all,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, because we all had that. We all had somebody open the doors, and I feel like that goes back to the mentorship component. We've had a lot of people echo throughout the day, mentors, my mentors, being a mentor. So I want to let you talk, Lisa, but I also want to hear what makes a good mentor. So
when she said onboarding, I feel it resonates so much with us at FanDuel TV, because I feel so more than 60% of our TVG customer base is 40 and over. More than 60% of our FanDuel Sportsbook customers are 40 and younger. And so in regards to onboarding, I feel like we're constantly onboarding and bringing these sports fans and these new sports fans to horse racing, and it's from an educational element that you have to be able to share with them. And truly the desire is there. And we're so excited to be able, like I said, to just like cross promote and bring everybody into one space, because it's very cool, but also they're so eager. And so, you know, we talk about, you know, all these, the Preakness parties and the Kentucky Derby parties, and how, you know, the video, again, that Jodie, that you aired, that's my TV lingo, you know, that you shared with everybody, it really speaks to, you know, this new generation of horse racing fans and sports fans in general. But it's such an opportunity to lean into that and say, like, hey, we're going to take you along, and you're going to enjoy the, you know, the fashion and the food and the star power, and they are all about that. And what we have found with our metrics is that they want to complete the experience with wagering. And so they're really wanting to learn more about horse racing and the space. And so, you know, again, we're at the ground level of bringing everybody together in this space, but there's such opportunity to be able to continue to onboard, you know, this new generation that really has a lot of excitement for it.
I think, like someone said earlier, like, don't let a good crisis like go to waste. And I actually like saw that, and in like coming out of COVID, because at one point, like, horse racing was the only thing you could gamble on. And I swear, when we opened the doors up, I was like, there's a new crowd of people here. Like, here's our chance to be like, welcome. Like, how do we make things better for you? And just like you were just saying, there is literally something for everybody. Like, and everybody wants to gamble. Like, as soon as they come to the racetrack, they're like, how do I bet? And I'm like, here, I'll show you. Like, you know, and there's like you said, the fashion, the food, the racing, the stories. Like, there's literally something for everyone. So it is opening up to people.
And we're finding that in a very tangible way with our platforms.
What has that education process looked like for you guys to carry, you know, horse racing fans over to the greater sports world, and then reverse as well?
Well, Christina is a big part of that. Christina and Britt, we have incredibly talented anchors and hosts that are able to, we never want to dumb things down for our audience. Obviously, we don't want to offend people that are watching, you know, our racing programming, but we also, like I said, very talented and in a very tactful way are able to bring people along without alienating anyone that's new to the sport. And the same goes for sports betting as well. Now, there are educational, like, 101 videos that we have on our platforms for sports betting and horse racing as well. So if you're really wanting to, like, learn more nitty-gritty about, you know, terminology is such a barrier, right, for both sports betting and for racing. So there's ways to do that, but just through our content and our programming and our empathetic way of delivering our content in a very mindful way of approaching the races and every minute that we're on TV.
So I'm very cognizant of time, that we want to take questions as well, but I want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to leave the audience with something today. So what would be your main takeaway that you want everybody to leave with?
I would say be inclusive, have a voice, and give things a chance. Because I think without giving that chance for things to grow and change and alter, like, we might be missing out on things. So just like TVG has morphed into FanDuel TV, how syndication has morphed into, like, micro ownership, and how like the features have really dug into things. Like, I think it's just give things a chance. And sometimes I think the way it's been done is the way it should be done. That's over. It's like, we need to change. We need to keep growing. We need to, you know, like you said, we all have a goal to have this industry succeed. And so, yeah, let's mix it up and help it get there.
So I thought about this one a lot. I know we talked most about innovation today, but I think my piece of advice is a little bit more, I wanted something that was kind of what I consider to be a female-oriented kind of challenge. So considering, you know, a room full of women, I would say just being an entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur, just being now in a job among a lot of men in kind of the leadership role, I noticed something, and I caught it myself doing it, and then I now notice a lot of other women doing it, but just be mindful of the phrase, I'm sorry. I think that it is way overused by women. How many men do you see going around saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry? Women apologize before they ask a question. Why? Why would you apologize for that? But that doesn't mean that I never apologize, okay? I'd be in big trouble if that was, you know, the way I lived my life. Yeah, Pete can attest, I do occasionally. it's just about the way you phrase it. So let's say you're, late to a meeting. Instead of, oh, I'm sorry, you could say, forgive my tardiness. I was wrapping up another call. It was really important. I didn't want to cut off that conversation. Or if you anticipate, a deadline being missed, you could reach out to your manager and say, I anticipate that this deadline is going to be delayed, but I'm really giving this project the proper mind share it deserves, and I'm in a great place with it, and I want to give it a little more time to complete it. So what it does is it takes the apology away from it's not internal anymore. It's not, I'm sorry. You're sort of forgiving the moment or the action that came out of a circumstance that could have happened for any number of reasons that life throws at us at any time. So I would say save your sorries for when you really need them. And if you get one from me, it's probably very warranted.
We should all apply that to parenthood, right?
Yeah.
In this circumstance, because I had children screaming, no. Go ahead,
Right.
Lindsay.
Please forgive the loud noises in the background.
Well, I said most of my piece in the last answer, just about collaboration and ideas can come from everywhere. But I will give my two favorite words to live by, I guess, in career and life. Not words, phrases. The first is not attributed to, but oft uttered by my favorite athlete, the recently retired Roger Federer. And you knew I was going to get him in there somewhere, Ames, because I love him. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. And that is something I remind myself of every day. And I'm not perfect, but I think there's also can be a lot of pressure on women, especially as you're moving up and becoming a leader, to project a certain air and maybe be stern and firm. I don't necessarily take on that mentality. I think that the most important thing and the thing that will resonate most with people who want to work with you is that you are a nice person and you are nice to work with. And you will get more out of the people you work with if you are nice to them. They will be nice in return, and they will offer themselves and their best ideas to you. The last bit is something that has come from my dad my whole life, and it's there's a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to talk. And that one always gets me. And I find myself thinking about it in conversation, and I think it's really powerful. And I know Dora was talking about reading and consuming everything, and there's so much power in knowledge. So consume, but mostly listen. Really, really listen to the people around you because they have a lifetime worth of experience in whatever it is they're an expert in.
Love that. I just want to lean into the reason why we're here and Jodie and celebrating women in this sport and coming together because we're powerful. And it's not so much of an uncommon misconception that horse racing has predominantly been for men. And so, for us to have an opportunity to be in this room together, having these really awesome conversations and being able to collaborate together and collectively, really challenges that notion. And it's really exciting to be a part of it. And something that we saw in my industry and in sports betting and in sportsbook in particular, and we brought obviously TVG, and we brought the consumers together under Sportsbook, is in 2021, there were 4.7 million new female users to Sportsbook. And we're very proud that FanDuel had the lion's share with 1.7 million new female users, but it was up 115% from 2020. And the growth rate of female users coming to Sportsbook is more than double men. Now, when you look at the whole breakdown, there's still more men. But I think it's such a micro story of what we're really seeing. And we're just like, no rules. You know what? Actually, I'm interested in this space, so I'm going to raise my hand. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to trust my voice and say, I'm here. Because why not walk through that door? What's the worst that can happen other than you meet some new people, you learn some new things, and you kind of can find out maybe if this is something you want to continue to pursue. And at the very least, you've met new people and you've broadened yourself. And so I just, as women, I'm such a champion of women. I'm so proud to have a female CEO who is a total badass, as you all have found out today. I'm so proud to be in partnership with her and doing really cool, big things and being able to be on the stage with incredible women to be able to just say, go get it. Whatever it is that's interesting to you, trust your voice.
It's amazing, guys. I'm gonna write that down about the listening and waiting for your turn to talk. But do we have any questions from the audience?
We were that interesting.
Covered it all.
I know, we speak a lot.
Jade?
I have one for Shona. So, correct me if I'm wrong about anything also. So,
Okay.
I know you do MyRacehorse. Great, a microphone.
Now you're on the
I
spot.
know you do MyRacehorse. So, from like a trainer perspective, the goal is to get more owners, right? And so technically MyRacehorse is one ownership from a trainer perspective. Do you guys have anything that shows them how they can go out on their own if they ever decide to, or like maybe go buy their own horse or something? Do you have anything that encourages them to do that maybe further in once they've been with y'all for a few years or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. So once we sort of educated them on just the basics, there's a lot of options. We have people who test it out, and trial is really important. They'll maybe buy a couple $100 worth of a racehorse. But then we have people who spend thousands on racehorses, microshares. So we built Edge Racing, which is like your more traditional syndicate platform. So people can definitely graduate to Edge if they are looking to kind of put a little more skin in the game. It's not SEC regulated because the qualifying factor is that you have to be an accredited investor to become part of a syndicate. So there's a little bit of a different process there. It's not as accessible to someone who might be, a teacher or someone like that, if they don't fit the qualifications. But it is available to them. And then we are looking at a lot of ways to empower our owners to either maybe come together and start a fund if they want to get into maybe sort of the pinhooking side of things. They want to buy some yearlings, or if they want to go and buy some 2-year-olds. So Edge has started its own fund, but we are also working with some of the partners who want to kind of go out and do that on their own. So it's been a cool opportunity. I don't think we it seems logical now, but I don't think I expected to take someone who would buy one share of a horse and then within a couple years be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on racehorses and bringing their whole family out and traveling all around the country to follow the horses and going to all the big events. So it's been awesome.
Got another question in the front?
I have more of a comment, actually. Hi, I have more of a comment, more to speaking to what Jodie said about inclusion and getting the right, or not the right, but the people that love the horse and are interested in the horse. There's so many different avenues for, like, young girls. I have a horse, but I didn't come from a horse background at all, and I didn't even have the opportunity to know that there was, like, racing. I knew about Kentucky Derby and stuff, but I think that when you spoke about that you go to schools and introduce the racing to, like, very young people, like, and when I was younger, I would have had somebody that said, oh, maybe, I thought you could only be a jockey, or a vet. That's it, and if you couldn't be a jockey or a vet, then forget horses. And so I think that what you're doing to engage very young groups of people and let them know, and even the people that didn't, like myself, come from any horse, pedigree, that, there are opportunities, even if you love a horse, to get into, maybe it's not, a jockey or a vet, but you can do anything equine, or even in the advertising and photography, and there's so many things now that I've done more with racing that you can do. So I think kudos to keep going with the young
Thank you.
education.
That was exactly growing up in something that's like just come full circle, and I still need to say hi to everyone, but I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, and hello Canada. And like I kind of just thought, like, I loved riding. I was very competitive at riding, but I was either going to be like a competitive rider the rest of my life or be a vet. I didn't really like realize what else there was, and sort of now I think that's like one of my biggest things that I try to do. Like, if anyone comes to me like, hey, I want to get involved, I'm like, I know this person, like, who do you want to talk to? And like, because without that, like, I would not be sitting here at all. Like, someone literally took me into their home in Lexington from Canada and was like, I'm going to introduce you, and if you want to work in this industry, here is your chance. Like, here is the platform. If you want to go with it, like, go for it. So yeah, I think it's really important to open those opportunities up. And even to speak to the Ed Brown Society, there are entities that are trying to do more internships and things like that. And working with Deja and Charles, their first 2 interns with Ed Brown, and I just loved actually like showing them all the different avenues and capacities. Like I love bringing people to the racetrack and showing them what's available to do. And I know it's really interesting. I haven't met one person that didn't know about horse racing that came to the track and was like, this is okay. Like everyone's like, wow, this is amazing. So yeah, I think we do. It's all on us to open an avenue, whether it's to one person, to a school, to multiple people. Like it's on us to open that platform, and we're all doing it in certain ways. So.
I mean, it feels like a perfect opportunity to talk a little bit about Amplify. Isn't that what I think we should give Anita a moment in the
That was a
spotlight?
perfect segue, actually, because I was asked to close this presentation by talking a bit about mentorship opportunities. So Amplify Horse Racing, which I run, is a nonprofit to get youth and young adults involved in the thoroughbred industry and teach them about career pathways and pathways towards involvement. And mentorship has been brought up so many times throughout the day. And so I would love to invite all of these amazing women that we have here and men to apply to be mentors within our program. So we take in youth and young adults who are interested in becoming more involved in the industry. They want a tangible pathway and steps forward, and we pair them up with a mentor who can help to provide them that guidance and point them in the right direction. So in your bags that you got when you checked in yesterday, there's a flyer about the program, about how to become a mentor. And then on the flip side, if there's anybody here who wants more guidance, you want to be paired one-on-one with somebody who you can work together with in a structured way through the program to help guide you in getting involved. So apply for the program, apply to be a mentee, and thank you ladies so much for sharing your amazing careers with us today.
Thank you. You did an awesome job. Really well done.
Ladies on the panel, please stay seated for a quick photo op. Everybody else, I'm going to release you. We're going to have an abbreviated break here. We did run a little bit.